What's up everybody, this is Ven bringing you another MOC Spotlight where we take apart what you build, and for today's episode we'll be taking a look at Syvon, the Acperience Warden. I totally botched that pronunciation, but who cares? You do, because you're gonna leave a comment in the comment section below complaining about it. But anyway, this MOC was created and posted to our message boards by Monarth. And as always, before we get started, let me remind you of my method of reviewing, which involves a point system that is based on 3 fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the MOC, the build of the MOC itself, and the concept and ideas behind the MOC's creation. Each of these qualities will amount up to 10 points, leading up to a final score that will be determined at the end of the episode. And please remember that this is all based on my opinion. That said, let's go ahead and get this started. So I'll admit it, at first I actually had no clue what I was looking at. This MOC just looked so bizarre and cluttered that I could not make out what the heck it was even supposed to be. I just saw colors and lots of greeble. But bearing that in mind, that's probably my only criticism of the MOC's appearance. That and the color scheme, which I'm not a big fan of. You know, the silver, the gold, and the transparent orange. First of all, I'm just not a fan of these colors going together, like, at all, especially gold and silver in this much concentration. It all just kind of clashes together. If you were gonna have a bright metallic color on a MOC, just choose one. Honestly, maybe the silver just should have been swapped out for a gray, a dark gray, or black, or some dark muted color that makes the MOC a little bit easier to look at, because really, we do have a cool looking MOC here. When you look at the other pictures and you see this MOC in different poses and at different angles and stuff, it becomes more apparent what it's supposed to be. You can make out distinct features like the face and the arms and the legs, all these different distinct features of this big, bulky, imposing monster. Like, it is really cool looking. I do like this design, but what is bringing it down is just all these clashing textures and the colors. More so the colors, because I understand when you're working with bionicle elements, it can be pretty hard to keep that sort of thing consistent when, like, every other bionicle part has some kind of different texture going for it. Like, some parts are smooth, some parts have lots of holes and pistons and all that sort of thing. But really, it's the silver that makes this worse, because the silver makes these different textures pop out more. If you had a darker muted color rather than the silver, then the holes and the greebles and all this and that wouldn't really pop out or stick out as much, because then you just have less contrast. And maybe you don't exactly need to get rid of all the silver, because I can see that some parts of this MOC are essential and they only do come in silver, like the mandibles and the horns and the big spines on the back that look really cool. I wouldn't want you to get rid of that. So perhaps silver can still be in the color scheme, but maybe not in this much concentration. Maybe get rid of the gold, put the silver where the gold is, and make a dark muted color, like, I don't know, dark red, dark blue, or something. Maybe even black, the muted color. At that point, you can probably also get away with including the transparent orange or any other transparent color that would work with the muted color, because at that point there'd be a really nice contrast. Now, I know all that was a lot to take in, and it sounds like I'm like complaining a lot about this MOC, but honestly, again, I do like how this MOC looks. I do like the bulkiness and its overall unique bug-like appearance. The face alone sells the MOC for me, with its unique shaping and distinct facial features, but the rest of the MOC manages to keep up this really streamlined design with lots of detailing. You know, like, very often I'll see MOCs that have like a really cool looking head, like it's built really well, it's very creative, but then the rest of the MOC doesn't really hold up. This MOC is not one of those. Even when it comes to structural integrity, this MOC is actually really well built. I mean, it just looks so solid, and all the different bionicle elements with the different sizes and shapes are just so seamlessly fit together. Like, dude, this is how you built with bionicle back in the days. Like, yeah, I know there's a couple of CCBS elements that are thrown in here, but they are used so sparingly, it's honestly impressive. Now, the builder has stated in his MOC topic that the build of the MOC isn't exactly 100% sturdy. It actually loses stability with the legs, because as it turns out, the MOC is very top heavy and the legs actually can't completely support it. Like, the knees are actually fixed in this bent position because otherwise the MOC will just fall over. And that does suck. However, the builder also intended for the MOC's design to have bent knees almost all the time anyway. Plus, it doesn't really look bad, and if that's all it takes to keep the MOC standing up, then hey, you know, well done, at least it stands up at all. At least it's still got articulation in the knees and elbows, and all of these limbs have articulation. But yeah, the MOC's got a really good build. And I'm left with the impression that the builder knew exactly what he was going for. He did have to rebuild it time and time again ever since he started this little project back in December, and it looks to have come a long way until finally getting posted in April. Also, I'm pretty sure some of you viewers may even be able to figure out what he was going for. Really, if you're a Digimon fan. Because, as a matter of fact, this MOC's design was mostly inspired by Digimon's Hercules Kabuterimon, and here you can see where he picked up all the bug-like features and whatnot. Knowing that actually makes the MOC a lot better in my eyes, because then it's like, oh, now I actually completely understand what this guy was going for. I can see clearly now that the rain is gone. But even without knowing that, this MOC is still really impressive. It's got a great build, it's very creative, it's got a good bit of character with its bulk and its menacing appearance, which are all very fitting because apparently this MOC is supposed to represent a villain character in the builder's own personal story. And when it's all said and done, the MOC is really well conceptualized and even better executed. So with that, I feel we are ready to conclude this video with some final scores. So let's get a move on, shall we? In terms of appearance, this MOC receives an 8 out of 10. As I mentioned earlier, I think this MOC has a great design, but at the end of the day, its biggest flaw is the color scheme. The colors are all bright and vibrant, there's not a lot of contrast, and they kind of clash together a little too much. And that on top of all the clashing textures that are made apparent through all these bright colors, overall make the MOC kind of hard to look at in some angles. And I do actually think that the solution would be to pick a different color for the primary. Having a darker and or muted color for the primary makes the bright colors pop out a little bit more, seem a little bit more significant, have a bit more contrast with the other colors, and it would make all the textures and the different little greebles look a lot less apparent. In terms of the build, this MOC receives a 9 out of 10. It's all really well put together, it looks very solid, but unfortunately it's not 100% stable, and that's one of the core elements I really look for in the build of a MOC. But hey, when it comes to creativity and really knowing how to use all these different Bionicle elements, you can have all the points you want. And in terms of the concept, this MOC receives an 8 out of 10. Again, really cool concept that was pulled off really well in execution, but could have also been pulled off a good bit better. And that mostly lies with my criticisms of the MOC's appearance, with the colors and the textures all kind of cluttered and incohesive. But I think fix those issues and maybe even fix the issues with build, and you have a really well executed MOC overall. And with all that said, we are left with a final score that all adds up to a 25 out of 30. So great job to you, Monarth. I do hope to see more out of you, and I do hope to see something out of you viewers. If you think you have what it takes to make a really cool and creative MOC and show it off to the whole world or whatever the heck you want to do, go to our message boards at board.ttvchannel.com, where you are more than welcome to post your own LEGO creations to the LEGO Creations category. And should I find it to be interesting and or creative in some sort of way, I may even decide to review it on the MOC Spotlight in the future. It does take me a while to sift through all the MOCs sometimes, so bear with me, but honestly, as long as you're creative, I'll get to you eventually. So until then, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.